And hello, movie lovers, and welcome to the show. With me, I have Beth from Made for Movie TV podcast. So hello to everyone, Beth.
Hi, everyone. Hi, John. Thanks for having me back.
You're welcome. It's been a while. It's been a minute since we actually had a chance to sit
Feels
down and
like it.
review a film. You know what I mean?
hmm
But it's a privilege to be able to review this film. This is
It is.
actually one of my favorites.
It is one of my favorites too. And I was thinking today. I was thinking, gosh, Would they even make Doc Hollywood today? I feel like it was the precursor for all Hallmark movies.
To be honest with you, I think that we're safe with Doc Hollywood pretty much. I think this movie can still be made. There's nothing in this film where I feel like this movie can be canceled or anything like that. I feel like this movie is a very heartwarming one, but I do feel like if this was done today, it would have been a hard R because of the simple fact is you have some nudity in it.
Yeah.
You have, of course, Michael J. Fox dropping one F bomb, but he's allowed one F bomb, so it might still land for the PG-13 kind of ish, but not really. But still, he's allowed at least one F bomb in a PG-13 movie for it to be PG-13. If you have another F bomb, that's rated R.
See, now
So
my podcast would be rated R then. Oh, wait, it is. We
yeah,
explicit.
or rated MA, yeah.
But I don't think I've dropped an F bomb on your show. I
No,
apologize if I do.
I apologize that you didn't, but it's just a pleasure to have you here. And of
Thank
course, guys,
you.
this is going to be from 1991, starring Michael J. Fox. And if you guys don't know what this movie's about, I'll tell you about that in a minute. But this movie only had a budget of $20 million. It made a box office during that time 54.8 million, which didn't really do that well, even if you take a third away from that, because of the fact that you take a third of it and it goes to the box office and the rest goes to the movie theaters, and that's it. So therefore, it didn't even make its money back at all. You look
Not
through that
not
kind of fun.
no, not in the run. I mean, it may have made more money back when it went to I guess we called it
VHS.
VHS back then. I was trying
Exactly.
to think of like but then I was like doing the math in my head, and there was definitely it definitely would have gone to VHS. And I know that it's been on cable TV because I actually saw it. Now, when I watched it for us to talk about it today, I watched it on Amazon or Netflix or something, but I have seen it with commercials. But that gave me the idea to do the movie because I was like, "Oh, I forgot how much I love this movie."
This movie is heartwarming. I'm going to be honest with you. But in case anybody doesn't know, it's about this. It's got Michael J. Fox, like we mentioned before, and his name is actually Alex Stone. And having complicated his medical residency in Washington D.C. hospital, Benjamin, which is Ben Stone, drives to Beverly Hills for a job interview with noted plastic surgeon Dr. Haberstorm. While passing through Grady, South Carolina, Ben crashes into a fence to avoid hitting a cow. So, this is actually going to be taking place in a small town setting, which kind of reminds me of my small town, believe it or not, because my town is just like this in a sense. But Michael J. Fox is trying to avoid hitting a cow. Of course, he's also thinking that he's this Hollywood hotshot, though, too, coming out of Washington Medical School. And he's thinking that he's this big shot doctor. He's going to make thousands of dollars. People are just going to love him and basically be magnetic to him because of the stuff that he can do, because he came from Washington going into Hollywood. So he has a big ego about him.
He does, and you see in the opening scene where he's like on his last day, people don't really seem to like him. Like nobody made a big deal about the fact that he was leaving, except they seemed to be happy he was going. You know what I mean? So I think that kind of shows that like he's kind of a douche canoe there, but then
Definitely.
and then he gets mad when he hits the when he totals his car, which of course he's going to because the car is beautiful. But he's kind of a douche and it's his own fault.
Right. But he doesn't see it as his own fault at all because of the
No.
fact that he's blaming everything else besides his own self. Because he goes, well, if it was for the cow in the middle of the road and these people walking their cow or whatever, I would not have hit the fence. And then he's also telling the guy, look, it's not going to be a problem. I'll go on ahead. We can straighten this out with my insurance money and everything. I'm sure they'll build you a new fence. But here's the thing about small town people. They take pride in the things that they build. So and that's what the judge winds up telling him. But of course, he doesn't know that's the judge that he actually hit the fence post on. But the judge is like, he tells him, he goes, what's the insurance going to do? He goes, you can't put money on a fence that I made myself. And that's how you know that Ben is no longer in Kansas anymore, or no longer in Washington anymore, because of the fact that these people cannot be bought or anything like that. They're stuck in their own ways. They're very self-independent and don't ask for help from anybody. And the way they go about charging people for different things is through trade, which I find very interesting about this. So that's something else too that's very different from Ben's perspective, because he thinks, okay, well, I'll just go ahead, slide in a couple of dollars and everything, and just go about my way. No, in this town, they make you work your debts off through hard labor, whether it's trying to save a pig or it's through trying to come up with money for a car, or anything like that too. So there's different ways of him getting the parts for the car and different ways of going about doing business in the small town. But what did you think of all that?
Well, I totally agree with you. I think that I think the townspeople, I mean, the one thing I really liked about this movie, and I think so now I'm from a very small town, a very small town that has had a farming community. It still does, but so I totally get like the whole cow thing, and we actually lived in a house and we moved away from that neighborhood a few years ago, but there we had cows behind us. We still kind of do, and they'd get away in the neighborhood and everybody would go running to catch them, and it was funny and it was fun. But I think that one thing I really liked about how they wrote these characters were they were just like amused by Ben when he hit that fence and he's freaking out and yelling at everybody, and they're just kind of like, I mean, I know the judge is upset about his fence, but he's still pretty amused, and I think that really plays off of Ben because he's such a jerk like in the very beginning that
Right.
you really have to like play that hard so that you can make it softer. And I that's why I thought that was such a funny little scene with the judge and the fence, and it's really lovely, and you get a feel, and I think maybe John, maybe that we do sort of have a feel for this town because we're from small towns, and I love
Right.
that. But the characters are so well written that they're very distinct, each one of them. It's not like you have this whole town full of the same person.
Right. And these characters are very relatable in some way or another. You might actually be in a small town to where you can actually relate to these characters in some way. And that's actually why it's connected and resonated with me so much, because I'm able to relate to these characters because I still live in my small town that I grew up in. So, in this small town also feels like the town I grew up in. But then, of course, the judge winds up telling him, hey, look, you have to 32 hours of community service at the town's medical clinic. Then Mayor Nicholson and a receptionist committee, Great Ben, hoping to hire him to replace Dr. Hugo, I believe, or Huge, or
Yeah,
Hugh,
or
but
Hogue maybe? Was it Hogue? Dr.
I think
Hogue?
it was
Something like
Hope.
that. Something like that.
But then Ben is taken back a minute. He goes, wait, you guys already have a doctor. Why are you coming to me? I'm just here to do my 32 hours and go about my business and fix up my car. That's all I care about. I don't care about this town. I don't care about you. I just want to do my time and get out.
Right.
And he's like, well, the doc is climbing up in age. He's not going to be here for long. So we need a new doctor. And they think that Ben is actually the person. He goes, well, I don't even like this town. He goes, yeah, but the town can also grow on you though too. So
Yeah.
I like that little catch that they wind up doing.
Yeah, and I like how Nick Nicholson now, I don't know if you remember or if you ever watched MASH, but he played
Yeah.
Major Charles Winchester, obviously. I mean, so everybody knew him back then. People may not recognize him as much today if you don't watch MASH, but Nicholson, he's just like, "Yep, you're staying." His attitude is it's so I love him. He's one of my favorite characters in this because he's just like, "Yeah, you're here. I know they're going to grow on you. You're going to end up staying and hey, we're going to have this sweet potato festival and it's going to be great.
Right.
So just buckle up and, I'll show you where the cabin is." And I loved him. I thought he had some great lines.
I think so too. He had some great lines as well. And then, of course, when he goes up to the cabin, he goes, wait, why can't I just stay in a hotel? You don't want to stay in a hotel. You want to be over here. You want to be where where it's peace and quiet. You don't have to worry about people coming in and out. Plus, this used to belong to somebody else, and he moved and everything. So now you're going to be the one who stays here for a while.
Yeah, and I
So,
and I love it when he takes them to the cabin and the three ladies are in there, the three elderly ladies, and they're all bringing dinner, and he's like, "Well, one of them's horny, but I'm not going to tell you which
tell you
one."
which one.
I think that's my favorite line from the movie.
And then, and also too, what the women are bringing him is like, well, guess what we got? One person has like a TV dinner, which is
Yeah.
Hungry
It,
Man. It was a
yeah, and
Hungry
she's like,
Man
"I
dinner.
can't cook."
I can't cook. It was like they were being on like a dating on some type of dating show and everything. Okay, what do you have next for your next plate so I can choose you? But I like how he goes, one of them is horny, but I'm not going to tell you which one. But I love it. I love
It
that
was so
line.
funny. That was like my favorite line of the whole movie, I think. I think that had to be it. I every time I see that I laugh because it's just so funny. It's like just it's so unexpectedly funny.
But yeah, that is definitely funny. And then also too, you also have this other thing that's happening with the porch, with is being repaired as well, and they make it look like that they don't know what they're doing. These mechanics. He's like, well, what's this for? And they're like, I don't know. What's that? He goes, that's it. You're not fixing my car. That's it. You don't know anything about my Porsche. You don't know anything. How about this? I'll just go on ahead. I'll pay for the shipping, and we can ship it up to Beverly Hills and be done with it. That way, you guys don't have to worry with it. He goes, no, we got it. We can do this. Don't worry about it. And so he winds up leaving it with the mechanic, anyways, even though he's hesitantly about doing it in the first place, which I thought was really funny about how they're doing stuff with the parts and stuff like that. That was even better. But yeah, I thought the humor in that scene actually works.
Oh yeah, I think the humor actually is really consistently funny. It surprises me a little that the movie didn't do better because it is a really funny movie. I mean, and even today I think it's still really relatable because there's nothing like super out of what would the norm of what would happen today except for maybe, it might be easier to get out of town or take your car from one place to another. But even still in a small town, it still would be a pain to try and get your wrecked car from one place to another because you still have to find someone to do it.
Right,
So
because unless you live in that town, that's the only way they would know who to go to. Because even with me being in a small town, there's certain all we have is like a Circle D place to fix something up at. We have other ways of fixing stuff up. We have maybe two mechanics that are licensed mechanics. All the rest are shade tree mechanics.
yeah.
So yeah, it's very relatable.
Yeah, I mean
Because
that's how it was in the town I grew up in. So I think today there's probably like 6,000 people. I think there were maybe 2,000 back then, and I think there were two service stations that had mechanics at them that you would take them. And there was a dealership, but it was in a different town. So I guess you could have taken your car there, but we never did. Now, however, my dad knew his way around cars, so we never took our cars and he fixed them all by himself.
okay,
So, in the driveway, like everybody else did back then, I guess. I don't know. He just
right.
would get under it in the driveway, although he would he would be under the car smoking cigarettes because my dad always had a cigarette lid, which not recommended.
Well, I think that's how Ben felt though too. Is like these guys don't have any idea what they're doing, and then Ben tends to his patients and flirts with the ambulance driver Viola, better known as Lou, a single mother of a 4-year-old daughter. Local insurance agent Hank Gordon also courts Lou, while Nancy Lee, the mayor's daughter, pursues Ben.
And then
So
we have Woody Harrelson, famously from Cheers and a lot of other movies from the 90s. He was oh gosh, now I'm trying to think of the one with Born Bad with Juliette Lewis. What was the name of that movie? I can't remember. Natural Born Killers. And then Bridget Fonda, of course, she was a very, very, very famous back in the 90s. My favorite movie she did was Single White Female, which if you haven't seen it, John, we'll review that this year sometime.
I've seen that, believe it or not, I have seen it, and I wouldn't mind going back and watching that over a period of time.
It's a
It's been a
great
while.
movie. It was so scary because she is my age, so that movie, those characters were all my age, so I think that's why it was so fearful. And she's such a different character in this one than in that movie. So,
All
because
right,
she's kind of like the in this one, I guess what maybe a little bit conniving debutante.
true. I can definitely see that in that way.
Hmm.
But still, I liked how Ben is just minding his own business and everything else, and then you see the mayor's daughter flirting with Ben, but Ben doesn't.
Hmm.
He has his eye on the other woman, though. He has his
Yep.
mind on Lou, and so he doesn't want anything to do with the mayor's daughter or anything like that. And he's like, "Well, good luck with that." And he gets up and just ignores her and goes on ahead and tries to sit in the same booth and everything and try to talk to her and everything. And she's
Yeah.
just not having it.
She shuts him down so hard. Good for her. Make him work for it.
Exactly. This
And
is not
there's
no Hollywood girl. This is a small town girl. You got to work
right. And she's
for it.
sitting there reading. She's like, I think, studying for the LSATs because she's going to try and go to law school. So I think when he
Right.
sits down at the booth, she's actually studying, if I recall. Like
Yeah,
they,
she's sitting
yeah,
down,
yeah. And she's like,
studying. Yeah.
yeah. And he's like, why would you want to go to law school and then come back here? And it's like, he's so intent on getting out to Beverly Hills. That's all he wants to do. Go make the money.
Yeah, that's where the money's at supposedly, and then also too
Mhm.
what they're trying to give him for that small town doctor job is not even up to par to what Beverly Hills is going to pay him. So that's why he's actually giving the cold shoulder as well.
Yeah.
But for small town people, we take pride in everything, and also too, it's not about the money; it's about what we can do to help other people. So that's also another thing too.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it comes
Did
down
you
to it.
John, did you ever see the show Northern Exposure?
I've seen the episodes
Because there's
of.
okay, so it's funny because it's in a small town in Alaska, and they don't have a doctor, so they need one. They don't have a lot of money, so they bring him, and what they do is like pay off his medical loan. So, the fact that they don't have a lot of money to pay him is not surprising because it's a small town. So it was a very small amount of money too, even back then. I think it was what 28,000 was, or 23. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was in the 20s.
It
So
was
it would
like
have been,
22,000. And
yeah.
then he's like, Ben's like, nah, I don't think so. Well, how about 20? So you went from 22,000 and then you're dropping it to 20,000.
And then you can't even have medical insurance because you're the only doctor for 100 miles.
Exactly. So that's even another thing though, too. So he's like, no.
Don't
But
get sick, Ben.
this is another thing I like though, too, whenever of course he winds up, this is my other favorite part though, whenever he goes into the doctor's office, into the clinic. And
Nurse, what's her name? Nurse Packer.
Nurse Packer goes in there because this is your time card. Ching. Which is illegal to plug somebody else in and out, but small towns, it don't matter. Anything
No,
goes.
no. I don't think he was amused by that at all. She was so tough on him, and I loved it because
Me too.
it's kind of what I think the tough love that he got from some of the people like Lou and Nurse Pecker and Dr. Hogue later, but if he deserved that, I think it helped shake out his better side as the
Most definitely.
story moves. Yeah. Yeah.
And also,
I
look,
love that dynamic with Nurse Packer and Ben. It's so funny.
it is the back and forth bantering between the two of them is really great, especially
Yeah.
when Ben winds up getting that one patient who he thinks is going into cardiac arrest. And he tells Nurse Packer, you have to call the doctor. Well, as you can see, he does not want to be disturbed. Because I don't care. Get him on the damn phone. Fire up is there a helicopter? Get the helicopter.
Yeah.
First, he wants to get the ambulance and goes, you know what? Never mind. Forget about the ambulance. We need to go ahead, fire up the helicopter instead. And she goes, I'm telling you, calling him is going to be a big mistake. Well, what's going to be a big mistake is if we wind up losing this kid who's going into a cardiac arrest. So we have to do something. So then as he's leaving, goes, call him. So then he winds up checking on the kid, telling him, hey, look, I'm telling his parents, look, this is what the story is what the situation is. We have to go ahead and ship him up to another hospital and everything because your son's going into cardiac arrest. At that moment, he's also putting the oxygen tank on him, and then also too, here comes the nurse. Just that's right. He didn't want her to call him. He didn't want the nurse to call. So all of a sudden, the nurse says, "I called him." Because wasn't I tell you? Then all of a sudden, he goes over there and goes, "Look, you need to go on ahead, get your FNS over here and everything, and do something about this kid and everything because he's about to die from cardiac arrest." So at that point, that they wind up he winds up hanging up on the doctor, and then after that, you see him push the hospital cart outside, and then he's waiting on the helicopter, and here comes the doctor going speeding through the small town, and he tells, of course, he winds up telling Ben to give him a Coke.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'll let you.
Oh no, what I was gonna say is, yeah, to give him the Coke, and I think that's great. I think that like I hope that I think that like all the medical training he had, he realized that not everything you do is in the books. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just have to rely on sometimes like the old fashioned treatments like that, you know, it was he had reflux or I think it was reflux, right? Yeah.
I think it has a
So
reflux, and he had a
yeah,
stomach
but
ache.
yeah, when reflux is like it can give you actually the feeling of having a heart attack. And so the guy, and I think it just showed like that Dr. Hogue knew the townspeople. He knew this kid was exactly why because he's seen him before, and he's trying to tell Ben, and Ben just thinks he knows everything because he's a young hotshot going to Beverly Hills. And Dr. Hogue was like, "See, you were wrong," and I like that. I like that because I think it was a really good lesson, and I liked it that it was. I liked where it was in the movie too because I really think you can see like the change in Ben. You can actually see it from the scenes that were written. This is a really, I think, really well written comedy. I think the pacing is good. I think the length of the scenes are really good. I think whoever wrote it had a really good handle on how to entertain people.
I think so too, and also gave us a chance to have the vibe of the small town setting
Yeah,
on
I
how
love
small
that.
this. I like how the fact that is they actually show us how small this town actually is between Ben walking the pig, between him going to the butcher shop. You have that small town atmosphere that feels very atmospheric kind of
Mhm.
setting, which is something I appreciate because sometimes some small town settings don't feel like a small town setting, and this does. Every
Yeah,
single thing nothing is misused. Everything is needs to be where it needs to be at, and that's something
yeah.
that I really liked about this film. But I like how now Ben has to rely. Sometimes you have to just rely on your own self
Mhm.
instead of your books and everything, and go with your own inside doctorate intuition
Yeah,
versus what's in the books. And
yeah.
another thing I want to mention is this: now you're in a small town. If you wind up getting a fishing lure stuck in your hand, and if people come up to you and want you to read a letter to them because they can't read,
Right.
and this is what makes me laugh. He goes, as Ben is reading this, he's like, he doesn't really want to read the letter. He feels annoyed that he has to waste his time, but then it starts getting good because he's getting that gossip in. The next thing you know, when he makes himself at home, he winds up putting his feet up on the
Yep.
desk and hands the patients the suckers. And as he's telling them this, he goes, "Yeah." And then there's this Pakistani boyfriend that someone is dating, and they don't understand anything that he's saying or anything like that. And then it goes into someone having a breakup and other things. And then all of a sudden, then after that, he goes, "And so and so is spending the night." And then he goes, "Wait, what about the Pakistani guy?"
He like takes his letter and he's like, "Wait, what happened to the Pakistani?" Like, what? We need more. I love that. That was so clever.
Like he
And
was
then
so
that's
invested.
I know
And
he becomes so invested, and so do we. I'm like, what happens to him? And that kind of becomes a running joke then throughout. Like, what happened to the Pakistani? Because then he goes to make the well, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but then he goes to read the letter the next letter later. But what I was gonna say about like you say about the small town feeling is when I was in high school, I worked in a diner, and if our regulars did not come in, we would call them and say like, "Are you okay?" Because we had a lot of elderly people, and so if they knew they weren't going to be in the next day, they would always tell us if they were going on vacation, and the owners of this diner would call to make sure that everybody was okay. And that's what I love about this movie, because it evokes feelings like that, of like that sort of, really, you really can't understand it unless you've lived in a really, really small town.
Right, exactly. And and then of course he winds up saving the pig from being the butcher, because I know I keep on bringing the pig up, but I'm jumping around, but I don't care. I'm having fun.
No. That's right.
But
You should probably tell him we should talk about how he gets the pig.
yeah, I'll let you explain that, because I've been explaining everything else. So I'll let you take that.
Okay. So there's a farmer who comes in, and he does he fixes the farmer up. I think it's a farmer. That's the sort of feeling I got. But anyway, he was very, very poor man, and he didn't have money to pay Ben for the treatment that he got, and his foot was better. So he brought him a pig, and he's like, I can't be in your debt. Take the pig. And so Ben does not want the pig, but he takes the pig, and then he starts walking around town, and everyone's like, nice pig.
And then at this moment, though, Lou winds up finding out that he saved the pig from being butchered. And of course, she's a vegetarian, so she doesn't even eat meat. So to know that Ben did something noble, even whenever it wasn't noble, I'm just glad that you went on ahead and saved the pig, Jasmine, from being chopped up from the butcher. And of course, he also left the pig with the mechanic, who winds up taking the pig to the butcher
To get the money for the car.
And so at that point, he asked the assistant mechanic, and he goes, "Where's so and so?" Oh, he went on ahead and went to the mechanic. I mean, he went over to the butcher and everything to get the money for your car. He goes, "What?" So next thing you know, he goes on ahead, goes over to the butcher shop. He goes, "Look, can I pay you? Do you take plastic?" He goes, "Unless it's in a plastic bag, no." He goes, "But there's other ways that you can make up for it." How? Next thing you know, he's chopping up meat, so that way he can go and pay his debt for this pig, so that way Jasmine can get out of the butcher shop. He winds up saving the pig.
And the butcher is like, "Oh, where'd you learn to cut like that?" And Ben was like, "Really?
You're really good with a knife. How did you do that?"
Really good with a knife.
Let's see, scalpel, maybe. Doctor.
He's really fast though with that knife, man.
Yeah.
That thing, he was really good.
Got dived right up in there, knocked everything out. Better than what I could do. I can tell you that.
I couldn't do that. No, I can barely cut up chicken off the bone.
Agreed. For me too. You can even ask Brandy on that one. But I like that whole entire bit. And then of course he winds up taking the pig back over to Lou's house for their date to go meet the mayor. Of course, this is also Lou's first time ever setting foot in the mayor's house and everything. And you can tell that things are a little bit, at first it seemed like they were a little bit too tight. You know what I mean? Like, they're really not the laid back, chill kind of people or anything like that. They're more of, I am the rich people of the town and look at me kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Woody Harrelson's all about getting out of the town and discovering who his self is and everything, and trying to make something out of himself versus being stuck in this town. So he's kind of like Ben, but also to not being the sleazeball that Ben is.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that he kind of comes across as kind of a little bit of a, I don't want to say he's a jerk, because he's not really a jerk, but I think he kind of plays it up that way a little bit, so we don't feel bad when Lou rejects him. I think might be why. But I mean, he's talking about leaving, but he's talking about going to LA, and he's kind of like, kind of a I think he wants to be a hot shot, kind of, you know what I mean?
Right.
More
like
than
a hot
just
shot lawyer type.
Yeah, something like that, or just like own his own real
estate.
Right. Is he insured? I can't remember what he did.
Either insurance or real estate, one of the other. But
so I think
either way it goes.
Yeah, I think he wants to move to a bigger city and just have a much bigger, I guess, customer base, you would call it. So, but it's funny because he makes a comment about he doesn't trust vegetarians or something, and in real life he's vegan, and I think he's been vegan for probably most of his adult life. So that was kind of an inside joke when he made that. And I think that was at the dinner. I think it was at
Yeah.
it was at the mayor's dinner. Yeah.
Yeah, because
And
he ends up looking at Lou and he goes, "You know what? I don't trust vegetarians. I don't trust people that eat meat."
yeah. And
And
he
that,
and he does. Yeah.
but then you have the whole entire thing where the doctor also got drunk at the mayor's house, who's quoting Walt
Walt
Whitman.
Whitman. And then they're like, well, if he gets really drunk, he's going to do a long one. Now, that was funny because it's like, here's this drunk doctor just reciting Walt Whitman poems, and everybody's kind of like, oh, that's just, it's so funny because they're all just so matter of fact about the weirdness that happens. And that's what I love about him. They're like, they just kind of embrace their own weirdness. And I love that.
Right? And you know what else is great though too? Finding an exciting new ways to actually shave your balls.
Do
Manscaped.
tell. Do
Yeah.
tell.
You see, this is what Ben should have used and everything. If you were a doctor and you want to get the smooth edges on your balls, this is the tool that you need. Matter of fact, Manscaped just launched their 4th-generation performance package. This ultimate package includes the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right. The 4.0 Manscaped, the leader, male grooming, have done it again. To make your grooming next level, join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped, the new performance package 4.0, by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the code Movie Lovers Unite. And this performance package is even better and everything too. Even Ben himself couldn't even agree more. With shaving the wrong tool will actually put a lot of people into the ER, and you don't want to actually explain why you cut your balls or anything like that.
Mhm.
That's why you need this 4.0 for this Manscaped. And like I said, this 4.0 Lawnmower 4.0 weed whacker, ear and nose hair trimmer, crop preserver, ball deodorant, crop reviver, toner, performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold all your goodies. That's everything that it comes with the performance package for the 4.0 Manscaped. And also, too, first off, the new Performance Package 4.0 includes the new Lawnmower 4.0. The trimmer is insane, and I say the greatest ball trimmer ever. Yeah, I said it. Their 4th-generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents. Thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology, the Lawnmower 4.0 has a 7,000 RPM motor, a new multi-function on and off switch, can engage a travel lock, and gives you the ability to turn the 4,000 LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. That's right. You want to be able to shave with the best, and you know what? Shaving with the best tool when you're in the dark and everything, and you just want to get to those dark edges is the best way to go about it with that LED light and everything, so that way you don't have to explain to Ben why you're in the ER. So I mentioned this trimmer is waterproof too, which is even better because you don't want to be electrocuted while you're shaving your balls. You thought that was good, but want to take your grooming game even further to the next level? The Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker to chop your worst weeds up top in your nose and ear. The Weed Whacker is also a waterproof and uses a 9,000 RPM motor powered 360 degrees rotary dual blade system. This nose and ear trimmer provides for skin safe technology, which helps prevent nicks, snags, and tugs and delicate holes. Seal the deal with Manscaped liquid formulations. This crop preserver ball deodorant before leaving the house, and crop preserver ball toner for a mid-game ball check. Trust me when I say, fellas, your balls will thank you. Mm-hmm. I'm also going to tell you this: check out their shampoo and stuff like that too, because I actually use this shampoo and everything. I never want to leave the shower because of what's in it. It's all natural ingredients like aloe vera and among other stuff that's inside it and everything. I promise you this. You will never leave the shower because of this. For the conditioner and shampoo, I strongly recommend it. Also, to get 20% off plus free shipping with the code Movie Lovers Night at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping and handling at Movie Lovers Night using the promo code. So now back to the show. So let's see here. Like I said before, I feel like Woody Harrelson's character is very good in this film, and also too, even the girl who's actually fanboying basically Ben and everything too, because basically she's curious. She's curious at what's life outside of her small town
Yeah.
as well. So I like
Yeah.
that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, she clearly wants to leave. I think she's bored. I mean, Nancy, I think was her name. Yeah, I think she's just kind of bored in that town. I guess if you have higher aspirations, and here comes a good-looking doctor who is going to go make a lot of money because probably in Beverly Hills as a cosmetic doctor, you're probably making more money than anybody except for maybe some celebrities and producers and stuff. I mean, it's a lot of money to be had. And back then, that kind of work, you didn't find it in like people had to find you. And so there's real money in it back then. And there still is, I'm sure. So I think she probably was like, oh, he's cute. And, I'm going to go after him. But they didn't make it in such a way that it was like, you didn't love it, but you weren't like, "Oh, she's evil," or anything like that. She was still a likable character. All the characters are still they didn't except for maybe Ben, he grew on you. They were all pretty likable.
Right, and they're relatable and likable. And also too, at this point, Ben is also starting to fall for Lou.
Oh,
He's
yep.
also not wanting to leave the town. As a matter of fact, he winds up sneaking out and everything after the whole entire festival is done and over with. He winds up trying to sneak out of the town, and then that's when he winds up finding this couple who's about to receive a baby,
Mhm.
and he winds up basically in the back of the car. That's when he winds up getting the baby and everything, and puts him in his shirt, and he realizes that he can't leave. This
Yeah.
town's attached to him. But
Yeah.
also too, he does wind up leaving, but he winds up coming back.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I think he really had his sights set on his dream of moving to Beverly Hills, and then when he does, it doesn't turn out to be what he had hoped for. Although his pardon my French, his
No, we did
apartment is a now we're PG-13. That apartment though, right? Am I wrong? That
right.
apartment in LA. I mean, come on, that thing is fabulous. Who wouldn't
He's
want to
got
live
everything
there?
he's ever wanted. I mean, also too, another thing I want to mention is this. Um, what winds up happening too when he's trying to leave, he also winds up after a short hesitation, he stops to help during the delivery. Okay. Ben's Porsche is also once again damaged when a Victique Carnival truck driver knocks into it. So
Yeah.
after all this work is done, his Porsche is now destroyed. The townspeople feel bad for him. So what do? They buy him a plane ticket up to over to California, over to Beverly Hills. And then, of course, I love this scene though. Whenever Ben is sitting down across from the other doctor in Beverly Hills, yes, he has the condo, he has everything he wants, but he still has that emptiness about him inside that apartment, just like how the apartment's also empty in a
It
sense,
is.
which also explains his emptiness for the town because of the girl that he loves.
Yeah.
But the other thing I really liked was how the other doctor in that town recommended Ben to that big time doctor and said that you
Yeah.
would be doing the right thing by hiring Ben and do a disservice if you don't hire him.
Yeah. Well, and I thought what's interesting though is I thought like he was there for an interview and it was I guess I kind of thought he already had the job, but I guess he you realize later on that he really was just going for the interview part and then you have George Hamilton plays that doctor, which is so funny because his whole kind of claim to fame is like that tan. He always had a tan, and that's what everybody kind of like. That's kind of what it was. What's kind of funny about him, and he always had work done, and he was very famously known for having work done. So it's kind of funny that he plays this tan doctor who's had work done. I don't know. It's kind of funny. I think it's probably more clever in the '90s than today, since maybe people don't really remember who he is, or some people wouldn't know who he was. But at any rate, yeah, and you're right. It's a good point about how different his apartment is. Very cold. Like it's not at all like that little cabin that he was staying in, for sure. You're right, there's like nothing in it but like just furniture, and it's shiny and new, and it feels very empty.
It feels very empty, very hollow. It feels like the same way that Ben feels. Then, of course, what I like about this though too, this is how you know good small town people are the way they are. Is of course when Hank and Nancy arrive in Los Angeles to bring Ben's repaired car with them, and Hank tells Ben that he and Lou broke off the engagement, but returns to Grady and reclines with her.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I think I mean so I want to just go back 1 minute and say that that scene where they buy him the plane ticket where he's about to say I'm going to stay and then they're like, "No, we got you this plane ticket." And then he walks off and everybody's like it's kind of really a sad moment because they really don't even though he's been kind of a poo head sometimes and he's warmed up, he everybody's really sad to see him go and I think he feels sadness in that moment, and it's almost like he wants to say no, no, I don't want it, but the kindness of everybody to step in and buy that plane ticket was such a nice gesture and I think he did really appreciate it and I like that. That was like another one of my favorite scenes was just like him leaving and then comes back and then he's got the girl and the pig and
And they live happily ever after.
and everybody lives happily ever after.
But another thing I have to laugh at is when they're fixing his car and then Ben walks in and all the parts are all over the place. And he goes, "What the hell are you doing? No." And he goes, "Doc, look, I know everything looks a mess and everything, but how would you feel if you were removing a liver and how would you feel if someone's removing a liver and somebody just walked in on you and all the parts are laid out?" He goes, "Give us a chance to do our jobs, and that's all I'm asking." And Ben is hesitant still, but he still winds up letting him do his job. Then, of course, the urinating scene as well.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's funny where they're like peeing everywhere.
And by the way, guys, if you're wondering what we're talking about, in order for deer hunters not to track deer, you have to throw the deer off the track. So therefore, what Lou and Ben do is this: they wind up peeing in different areas, so that way the deer don't walk on the track that the hunters want them to walk on. So that's why they're urinating everywhere.
Yeah, that's funny. My neighbor actually, so I'm not in a super small town, but I'm in a small enough town that my neighbor just shot he did a bow hunt. He got a deer and it ran through our backyard and my husband had to take the four-wheeler and drag it out a couple weeks ago. So, I mean, just to put in perspective that I'm not in a really big town. I live in the country.
I do too. I live maybe about 20 minutes away from my town and also 20 minutes away from Louisiana, state line.
Yeah,
I'm in between.
I would say I'm about 45 minutes outside of Milwaukee, but I'm far enough north that I'm in a town and I'm about 10 minutes from like the downtown center, maybe 15. So it's not but it's not super far away, but it's also not like super close. We have more deer than neighbors.
Hey, what's going on, Anthony? This is Anthony from AHS Universe. Go ahead and check out his YouTube channel. He has a lot of interesting stuff going on his YouTube channel and stuff like that. Thanks, man. What's good, man? We're gonna have to do a show one day. Again, I would like that. But this film is really good. There's nothing bad I can say about Doc Hollywood other than the fact that people just need to go ahead and check this out. It's a golden gem if you haven't seen Doc Hollywood. Like I said, this movie came out in 1991, and of course, there's also the other scene too where where Ben winds up finding Lou, and of course, she's also skinny dipping.
Yeah, that's a cute scene.
But yeah, that's actually another good scene. But I think unnecessary spam comments, delete and block. Thank you, Charlie, so much. This is why I appreciate you as my co-host.
Hi, Charlie.
I appreciate you as my co-host. Yep. But yeah, that's everything as far as this review goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do appreciate you taking the time out of your night to talk about Doc Hollywood, though.
Thank you.
This is always fun.
I would say if you want to just watch something that just something it's not going to take up a lot of space in your head. It's just a really enjoyable, sweet movie. Watch it. It's still relatable and you'll like it. It's a good movie and it's Michael J. Fox. He's so cute. He still is cute, I'm sure, but he's so cute in this movie.
Well, guys, Beth, where can everybody follow you at? if they want to.
Well, you can follow me. Our socials are on Twitter. We're at TV Movie Club Pod 1. On Facebook, we're Made for TV Movie Club Podcast. Instagram, we are Made for TV Movie Club _. And let me see if I get this right there. You can hashtag us at MFTVMC podcast. And you can listen to us we're on most of the podcast channels like Anchor, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Oh, and we're on Amazon Music now. So you can find us there. Yeah. Thanks for having me on again, John, by the way.
Anytime. It's been a while. I'm glad that we got a minute to catch up and talk some Doc Hollywood. It's always a pleasure to have you on. A matter of fact, guys, okay, so February 3rd, I'm actually going to be having Eric Fletcher from Dexter. He's going to be on. He was actually the cameraman, the SOC from the original Dexter series. So I'm going to be having him on the channel February 3rd, interviewing him. And then, of course, I'm also going to be doing an indie movie review of the movie Game Day. So I'm going to be doing that on February 1st. And then also, too, I'm going to be having an independent comic book writer on the show tomorrow night as well. We're going to be doing the Batman, the Halloween movie that came out. So I can't wait to talk about that. So, of course, guys, go on ahead and follow me underneath Movie Lovers TV Lovers Unite on Facebook, underneath the same brand name on Instagram and on Pinterest as well. If you want to donate to us, how do you do that? Just go to GoFundMe.com/Movie Lovers Podcast. That's how you can donate $5 to $10, of course, to us. But if you don't want to, that's okay. Clicking that like button, clicking that share button, clicking that subscribe button, and also smashing that other where the bell is and everything also allows you guys to know when we have something new here at Movie Lovers Night. Also teamed up with Two Blur Girls podcast. Once again, this is our last day to do our Children of St. Jude's fundraiser. So if you want to get yourself a Scentsy and buy $5 to $10 worth of Scentsy stuff, and all proceeds go over to the Children of St. Jude's Hospital, go on ahead. We definitely would appreciate that. If you guys can't, that's okay too. Then, of course, you guys can go on ahead and follow me underneath Movie Lovers Unit on Twitter, and, of course, underneath the same name on TikTok as well at Movie Lovers Unit 0. And if you're a sponsor or would like to be on the show, just reach out to me at movieloversunite@gmail.com. That's everywhere that you can reach me at. And also, too, another thing that we would like to say is this. Go over to Good Pods. Good Pods is basically social media for us as podcasters. Rate us, and you can also rate individual episodes for us and everything, and we can also reply back to y'all's comments and everything too. So it makes us feel more like a community. If you love listening to podcasts or if you're a podcaster yourself, go on ahead, try out Good Pods. I strongly recommend it. But also too, another thing is too, go on ahead, go under Apple Podcasts, rate both of our shows on Apple Podcasts and also too on Spotify as well, because now Spotify allows you to be able to rate our show. So go on ahead, do all that stuff. It helps people to find us. And thanks again, Anthony. Thanks, Charlie, for everything you do over here at Movie Lovers Tonight. I do appreciate it. And yes, we are definitely going to have to team up again soon, Anthony. And always, until next time, guys, it's been real. It's been fun. I can't wait to do this again.